Hello! Today I'd like to share with you a technique that I use to get more depth in my shadows with Copic markers. I'm going to be colouring two apples, one with the traditional technique using the Copic colour numbers, and the second with the more traditional artist technique using the colour wheel. So the first apple will be coloured using the Copic colour numbers. I've chosen 4 red colours going from dark to light. The last number on your Copic pen indicates how dark the colour is. For example, here for the R89 it is 9. The 9 means it's a very dark colour. The number before the 9 is for saturation, or how bright the colour is. So 0 is very bright and 9 is quite a muddy or a desaturated colour. So if we use the numbers to create a gradient going from shadow to light, we should be using as much of a high number as possible for the shadow. Here I used the 9, and a lowest number as possible for the light shade, and I used 2 here. So I don't use this technique. It's not that it's wrong to do this. I guess that the Copic colour system was created for a reason, so it's probably the right way to do it. And I can see the advantages. The colours are always very bright and clean, but I think you tend to get colours that are quite flat. Your red is a red and your blues are blues, and so on. Colours aren't like that in real life. I don't know if you've ever tried changing the colour of something in a photo, or colouring a grayscale image in just one colour. Even though the image is very realistic, the flat colour just isn't. It's because real light just doesn't work like that. It's much more complex. So I think here I added an orange colour because the apple, even though I was just using the red zone, it was still looking very flat, so I cheated a bit. But I'm sort of trying to stay with the principle of just using one colour and the darker shades of that colour from the Copic spectrum. I keep switching backwards and forwards between different colours to try and get the smooth blend, using just the 4 colours that I mentioned. Here I'm going in with the green and making his eyes green as well. And again, I'll just be using a lighter green, and for the eyes as well, I'll be using a blue and a dark blue. So I'll just let this play out until I finish the first apple, and then I'll come back when it's time to show you the colour wheel. Okay, so now it's time for the schooly art lesson. I'm sure a lot of you have seen this one at school, and now we're going to be looking at the complementary colours. I've drawn here a colour wheel with 3 primary colours. The yellow, the blue, and the red is going to arrive very soon. So between those colours, I'm going to be adding the colours that are a mix between the 2 adjacent primary colours. So blue and yellow make green, yellow and red make orange, and blue and red make purple. So your teacher probably told you at school that this was a lesson about complementary colours, in fact. For example, when you put the red and the green together on the same picture, your red or your green will pop out more because it's next to its complementary colour, and so it will look brighter. But we can also use this colour wheel to mix a colour to get a better shading colour with it. So here you'll see that I'm taking the red pen and I'm dragging it over into the green, and if you can see, you'll get a very dark green colour, or very dark red colour in fact, when I do that. The blue over into the orange, same, you'll get a much darker blue colour, and the purple over into the yellow, a bit of a darker purple colour. Now, I'm used to using this technique with paints, with acrylic paints and with watercolours. It works very well because you're actually mixing the pigment of the paint together and it mixes well. But with Copics, I found that if you look there, what happened in the violet colour, when I put the yellow through, it just became even more yellow. But I found that the technique to use to mix these colours is to just go over with a second layer of the colour that you would like to be dominant, and I'm going to be showing you that here. So there we have R89 and R05 that I've just put down onto the paper. That's the classic Copic mix. But here I've got the R05 as usual and the YG97 that is making a more shadow colour. There it looks very green because I put the green on top of the red. But if you go back over with the red, then you get that darker, more natural shadow, but the red's still dominant, so it doesn't just look like you've put green all over your paper. So here I'm going with the yellow. I think it was yellow 08 that I used, and I'm going to be shading it first with the yellow colour. This is Y26. And now I'm going to be shading it with the purple colour. That was V6, I think. And again, I go over with the yellow so that the yellow stays the dominant colour. So, as I said before, this isn't the standard way of shading with Copics. If that makes you more comfortable to use the darker Copic colours, then I mean, as I said, there are the advantages to that. So here I'm going in with the YG97. I'm doing my shadow colour first so that I can colour over it with the colour that I would like to be more dominant. Just to summarise, the way to do this is that you make a colour wheel, or you remember the colour wheel, and you use the opposite colour as the shadow colour underneath the dominant colour of your object. So there you see, I'm going over the green with the red. So that gives us this darker red. So you'll notice that the darker red that we've got is less clean than the first one that I did. It's much less clean than the R89 of the classic Copic colours. This is why I say that one technique isn't better than the other one. This technique gives you a variety of colours on your image that are a lot more varied. But the other one has it's a bit more cartoony, a bit more clean. So you have to decide which technique is better for you, really, and what you like looking at best. An important thing to do here, and you'll see me doing this a lot while I'm colouring the bad apple image, is you have to do many different layers so that you get the balance of pigment that you would like. So this means going first with the green, then with the red, then adding a bit more green pigment, adding a bit more red pigment, just until you get that darker colour that you'd like. I suppose this is the same as when the artists actually mix the paint. They're mixing in their palette all of the pigments together. We can't do that with the Copics. We have to do that with different layers on the paper. So that made me think of one important thing. When you're doing this, it's quite important, I should imagine, to be using a good blending card that you can go over with many different layers. I mean, I just don't use Bristol or normal paper anymore for colouring with Copics. I think, even though it's a bit more expensive to get good card, in the long run you're saving money because you're using less ink with these kind of papers anyway. And especially with this, I can't imagine being able to blend as I'm blending here with the card that was, thinner or less glossy than the one I'm using. I usually use Express It blending paper or Copic Perfect colouring paper. Sometimes I've accidentally put Bristol into my printer and I've tried to colour with it and it's just turned out I just don't manage to get the same effect with it at all. So, and I feel like I'm just wasting Copic ink trying to get the effect that I usually get with these ones. So as I said before, the paper's very important as well. So you can see there that I coloured the leaves, and the shadow colour when I used it is going to be the red for the leaves, because the leaves are green and the opposite side of the colour wheel is red. And when I put the red on there, it turned out very red, so I had to go back over it with the green. But when I did use the green over the top of that red, then I got quite a decent shadow colour. And you can compare it with the other apple. So I hope this video has been helpful for you. I'll let the speed painting continue until the end. Please do, when you get to the end of the video, have a look at the two images and let me know what you think. Whether you think that the shadow on the image on the right, the bad apple, is better for you than the shadow on the left, the cleaner shadow on the good apple. I've also made 2 digis so that you can try your own comparisons. They'll be available at twisttoon.com. The link and the discount code will be in the description. Thanks very much for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, please think about sharing to your friends and subscribing for more videos like this one. Bye. Have a lovely day.